Hi, my name is Mark Taylor, and I'm the composer of Chapter 9, A Secret Sense of Style. I wanted to take a minute to, first of all, thank Chris Burnett and the Kansas City Youth Jazz Organization, and especially you, the players, for taking on this piece of music. I'm excited to hear what you guys do with it, and hopefully I've left enough room for you as players to explore it a bit and add your own whatever to make the piece unique and special to you. I thought I'd start off by telling you a little bit about the tune. The idea was created during a course I was taking on writing music for film. The course was taught by Chris Boardman, who scored the original version of the movie It. The clip of film we used was from the movie The French Connection, which I gather gets used a lot in film scoring courses because the original movie doesn't have a score. In this scene, the protagonist, Gene Hackman, has to chase down the bad guys in New York City. Problem is that they're on the subway, well, the elevated train, and he's in a car. All of that to say that that's why there's two different rhythmic patterns to provide propulsion and movement through the piece. We call them motors. And I think one of the fun things for you guys to explore as you get into the solo sections in particular is how far away from those written motors, those written figures, do you get? How can you play with them? How can you break them up in a way that you want to? It keeps the propulsion, but isn't just playing that same figure over and over again. That could be a little bit of fun. I didn't want to sit here and go through, section by section and say, well, this is how you play this and this is how you play that, because half the fun for me is seeing what players come up with the material that I throw at them. I do want to go through a few things that will help streamline rehearsal time. So starting at the beginning, it's very rhythmically sparse. You've got the basic motor in the guitar, and the drums should be creating color and effects, mostly cymbals, and just kind of hint at that figure that the guitar is playing that eventually will go into the bass. As the first melody comes in and the bass picks up that motor, it'd be a good idea in the drums to strip down what you're doing to basically just that bass line and maybe, that offbeat, the backbeat on the hi-hat. But whatever you do, keep it very, very, very simple so that you have a lot of room to build as you go through the chart. Quick word about my drum parts. Most of what's written there, that's just kind of a suggestion so you get an idea what the feel or the groove would be. By all means, in fact, please work at coming up with your own thing to do there, influenced by what I wrote. The great tuba player Howard Johnson once said to me, there's not a drummer alive that couldn't come up with something hipper than what I would write down. So the drum part in particular is a guideline, just so you know where the kicks are, what the form is, and any really important rhythms that need to be met. As you guys play it, I'm sure everyone will start to futz with their parts a bit to make them more personal. I tried to walk the line between it being just a head chart, which, that'd be fine. And then to me, the other extreme would be like a big band chart. I wanted there to be a sense of narrative, so the piece went somewhere, it had an arc to it, but I didn't want it to be so spelled out. So I'm hoping that I left enough room for some personalization. I'd like to talk a little bit about that melody. First of all the big jumps. I love writing stuff like that. I know it's not the easiest thing to do on some instruments, but I think it's very effective. But if there are some spots where those very large intervals are a problem because of fingering or whatever, drop one of the notes down or up an octave to collapse it into one octave instead of an octave plus. And the melodic shape should still be retained. It just won't have that particular sense of drama. The other thing is the phrases. Big chunks of this melody are written as call and response, question and answer phrases. And as you play the melody, you'll start to notice where those are and start figuring out ways to relate them to each other. So don't just play it through. Listen to how the phrases relate to each other. I think it'll make the tune much more interesting if that's part of your considerations as you're performing it. And then the last thing about the melody is that little 16th note figure that happens sometimes between the question and answer phrases, the call and the response. And that's not quite thrown away. It's designed to be like a sigh or a breath or a punctuation. Something you kind of almost you heard, but you weren't sure what you heard. Like when somebody says something to you under their breath. So those are some things to think about when you're looking at this melody. The bridge is a little more straightforward, but you know, once you get in the vibe of how that melody works, I think that'll come together. I tried not to overburden the part with too much in the way of dynamics and articulation and all of that stuff, because I wanted you guys to come at it organically. And maybe you might have to sit down and talk about, oh, okay, how are we going to do this? Are we going to go from this section to this section? Are we going to get louder, or are we going to like drop out and have everything flatten out again like the beginning at this new section? The only place I specified that was at the beginning of the first solo section. That should definitely happen there. Like the bottom should drop out of the whole thing as that first soloist is beginning. And then you guys can decide from there whether all three solos are one big build, or whether we're going to drop back somewhere, or whatever you're going to do. You guys talk about that, and you come up with a performance roadmap, the dynamic shape of the entire piece. The solo sections. The first solo is a repeated section, that A section repeated, and it can be opened up. That one has a written in repeat. The next solo, the guitar solo, which is the bridge, twice I think, there's no written repeat, but it's the same kind of thing. Between there and the beginning of the next solo could be opened up if you want to do that. And then the last solo, which is the soprano solo, also written with the repeats. So it would be easy to open those up. Now inside of those sections, there is some written material in the guitar and the vibes. Guitar, when there's no specific written part, should be comping. The written materials are, for want of a better phrase, backgrounds. They're things the vibe and the guitar player can decide when to bring in to support the soloist, or to signal the last time through so everybody can get ready to go on to the next thing. But that's what those are. So don't play them every time. Well, actually, if you want to, you can play them every time. But I think it'd be more interesting if you don't play them every time. If you open up those solos and expand them, then maybe you don't play the whole background. Maybe you play part of the background, and maybe you wait and then play another part of it later. Play around with that. After the solo section, that brings us to the melody out, and the rhythmic figure, the motor that's in the vibes in the guitar, is broken up across all the instruments. It's like a hocket kind of thing, and you will need to, coordinate so that everybody gets their part in the right place rhythmically, so the whole thing fits together like a puzzle. Then you've got the bridge out and the final A out, which should be big and full. That should be like that really should be like the climax of the piece. And then there's a little tag ending, and you are done. So I think that's everything that's important to talk about in that piece, in terms of just sort of giving you a heads up of what's in there, what to expect, what to look for. And I know I said this at the beginning, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you do with it. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. Most important thing is to have some fun with it. If there's questions about anything, of course, you guys can always contact me, and I will do my best to sort out any queries you might have. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Thanks again. Thanks again for playing my new piece, and best of luck. Have fun. Enjoy the ride.